Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our 10 to 1 session here today with Clara Strunck. Clara is a freelance features writer, and she was formerly a features writer at the Evening Standard magazine. Clara is writing now regularly for Tatler and Bureau London, as well as some other titles. Clara, lovely to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Lovely to be here.
How are you doing? How are your weeks playing out at the moment?
My weeks are playing out pretty well. Obviously, given the situation, none of us are going out and doing as many fun things as we wish we could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very newly freelance, so it's all a bit of a ride for me at the moment. But I think that so far, what I'm discovering is that it's important to have some structure to my weeks. So I try to sort of do certain things on certain days. Some weeks are busier than others, but I
Yes.
try to have some weeks where I focus on writing, other weeks where I focus on meetings, and that kind of helps me mix things up a little bit. But yeah, it
That's
seems to be
good.
going well so far.
Good. Yeah, I think structure is key, especially now we're all like properly stuck at home. Actually, it must be quite a nice time to be freelance because you know you're not the only one at home working. Everyone is.
That's sort of a nice thing is you do think, okay, I'm not missing out on an office camaraderie.
Yeah,
Um,
you're
and
definitely not.
exactly. But I do think it's important to kind of call people, call your friends, call your colleagues, call PRs, call whoever, to have meetings in your day, whether those are
Yeah,
phone, virtual ones, in-person meetings. That definitely does make you feel a little less lonely.
brilliant. And what is the best way for a PR to get in touch with you? You've just mentioned phone calls, but initially, if they're pitching, would it be an email?
Yeah, so initially emails always work for me. Also, I know a lot of people don't like this, but I am very happy for people to get in touch with me on social media. So through
Really? That's so
Instagram,
interesting.
that kind of thing. Yep, I'm always happy for a direct message on there because normally I don't miss that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
so do get in touch on social media if you have a good idea.
great. You will be inundated with messages now because I think you're
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
first journalists to say, yeah, slide into my DMs.
Please slide into my DMs. No one else does. Be very excited.
Clara, what are you being commissioned to write at the moment, or kind of looking more into 2021?
Interestingly, I am being asked to do a lot of pieces already for next year. So I think people are looking forward a lot, which means that pitches which are not too time sensitive, ones that take into account the changing situation and how rules and regulations might be altering going forward. Those are always really, really useful because some of the monthlies that I'm working with are already working on their February, March issues. So something that isn't going to be too time sensitive is really great for that. Having said that, pitches that are very on the money that would work for a daily tomorrow are also very well received. So a bit of a mix of both is always a nice thing to get in my inbox.
Brilliant. And when PRs are pitching to you, what should they include in their email?
I think that in the subject line, just have a longish description of exactly what it is that you're pitching. If we've spoken before as well, or if I might have met you somewhere or something like that, always put your name in the subject as well as in,
Okay.
because funny enough, it's something I do when I'm pitching pieces to editors, as I say, hello from Clara Strunck or something like that, because very often the email address itself can get missed. So if
Yeah.
you include your name in the subject, then I think, oh, I know that person. Um, and I would say that pitches need to be kept quite short, quite snappy. And I always like a kind of fully fleshed out story. That is always a kind of golden email to receive, rather than a press release that say describes one restaurant opening. If you
Yeah.
could send me an idea about a town in England that's becoming the new foodie hotspot, for example, that's always a lovely thing to get from a PR.
Brilliant. And you've just mentioned food, and actually before we went live, we were talking about restaurant reviews. Are you still going and reviewing restaurants and writing
Yeah,
about it?
absolutely. When I can, and when sort of restrictions are all in place, and it does make it a lot harder. But a
Yeah.
lot of firms, I think, are doing so well at sort of managing the government guidelines, and so I am trying to review as many as I can. I'm doing a lot of Instagram reviews at the moment. I used to write the feast page for ES magazine, and I think I'm going to be doing some recipes for a startup soon, so sort of watch this space. But at the
Amazing.
moment, I'm definitely trying to get to as many restaurants as they can, tell other people to get to restaurants when they can, because they're having a tricky time at the moment. It's important.
Yeah, so tricky, so tricky. And besides food and features, what other things do you want to hear from PRs about?
So I write quite a lot of social interest commentary type stories. A lot of it is sort of tongue-in-cheek pop culture stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for anything along those lines. I'm looking for book releases. I do quite a lot of book reviews, and so always looking for hot takes on, what's happening in the literary world, new books coming out. TV as well, I'm starting to write a bit more about, so that's always welcome.
There have been loads of good shows lately. There was like a massive dry spell, and now there are lots of great ones.
Oh, it's so great. Now that it's part of my job to watch the telly, it's a dream.
So nice.
Very, very into that. And I think we're all going to be inside quite a lot this winter. So Netflix really be up there with the good stuff.
That sounds great.
So essentially I'm looking for a huge range of stuff. So do, anything that seems of interest or you think might make a nice, feature. I'm pretty happy to hear about most things. So
brilliant. That's so nice. You write about such a lovely diverse group of things.
Yeah, really nice.
Clara, what is your biggest bugbear? And I'm going to be really interested to hear this, because most people say people sliding into their DMs. So I'd love to know what yours is.
Oh gosh, I think probably my biggest bugbear is someone who chases repeatedly, especially in the same day or the day after. Say, have you got this? Have you got this? I totally get that some things are urgent. In which case just put urgent in the subject line and just say, I need to hear from you on this in the next hour or whatever. Then I will absolutely get back to you. But otherwise, sometimes you can think, oh, I'm so sorry. I am going to reply to you, but I just do it today. So repeated chasing, unless it's really urgent, can sometimes come across a bit harassing. But that would probably be my only bugbear, other than actually pictures sometimes that then can't be followed through on. So you take a picture to an editor and say, I can deliver you this, and then go back to the PR and they say, oh, actually, I've given it to someone else, or we can't do it anymore. As a freelancer, that can put you in a slightly awkward position.
Yeah, definitely. So stay true to your word.
Exactly. But the DMs, come on in. I'm here, ready to answer instant messages.
Ready and waiting. Clara, do you have any examples of things that PRs are doing well at the moment, or things that you've noticed, might be since you've become a freelancer or previously at ESMag, that caught your eye?
So I think that the PRs who develop a relationship and really kind of listen to what someone's looking for. I remember at ES, there were certain PRs who for me really stood out, because we would have a meeting. I would say, I'm looking for XYZ, and they would then send me XYZ, which would be lovely. And then we would have a relationship where I would go to them and say, I'm really looking for stories along this nature. Have you got anything? And they would be pitching to me pretty constantly. So we had a really nice reciprocal relationship. I think that these days it's really hard for PRs without the kind of events industry to back them up. Dinners have all been cancelled, events have been cancelled. But I think that PRs who are sort of finding ways to skirt around restrictions in a way that's safe. Like, for instance, someone sent me an invitation to a kind of virtual cocktail tasting event for a new drink.
Cool.
I thought it was really clever. And that does sort of engage everybody. It is a little bit like going to an event, you're just doing it virtually. So I think PRs that are showing their agility and are able to adapt really quickly to the current restrictions are doing, for me, really standing out.
That's great. It sounds like you have brilliant relationships with PRs. How would you recommend for maybe a PR you haven't worked with before, or someone that's newly freelance? How do they strike up a relationship with you, or is it just over time and building trust?
Honestly, just send me great ideas, and then I will always be happy to talk to you. And it's the people who are consistently sending interesting kind of ideas that have a news hook to them, or an angle to it that they think that I might specifically like, or if they've read a piece of mine and they think, oh, you might be interested in taking this further by adding this on, or, you know, so people who have a bit more of a personal touch, I think you're always more likely to want to form a relationship with those people.
Brilliant. Clara, that is our 10 minutes up. It's gone so quickly.
It has gone.
So, just for all of the PRs watching, all of Clara's new details are up to date on Rocks Hill. So do get in touch with her with all of your pictures. But Clara, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me. Lovely to speak to you too.